back to Posh Plastic. I'm Amber, and I'm joined with my co-host, the low to my Lauren, Kylie.
Hey, hey.
And this is episode. Wait, is this? Are we dropping this one? No, this is just our normal
It's
one.
episode 4, but week 2.
Okay, yeah, episode 4, week 2. If you guys have been listening, we dropped our first 3 episodes last week. We have our bonus episode available if you rate and review the podcast. We'll be giving that away. Be sure to rate us 5 stars. Why do I always get so nervous? I don't know why this always makes me so nervous to riff like this. But yeah, guys, we do have our bonus episode. So, like I said, yeah, rate and review the podcast, and you'll be entered into our giveaway as well as receiving the bonus episode. If you want more info on our giveaway stuff, it is up on our Instagram. Go check out Posh and Plastic on Instagram for more info.
Yes, and we're opening this giveaway until February 15th is when we're going to lock in entries. So be sure you get that in.
Yes, thank you with the actual important information because I always forget the details.
No worries. You did good.
All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. Wind up, wind down, and let's hit rewind. Okay, Kylie, so what do you have for us today?
Today, I will be talking about the Pokémon franchise. Pokémon, if you don't know, which you should, but if you don't know, it's a show, it's a card game, it's a video game, it's movies, and there's so much more to the brand. Pokemon took the world by storm in the late 90s. Boys and girls alike sat around after school to watch the cartoon while collecting trading cards and battling them against each other. Pokemon was and is a universe that allows everyone to step in the shoes of a Pokemon trainer, which makes it fascinating and it creates fans for life. So we're going to dive into that today. My resources are Wikipedia, Alter Gaming, Genius, and IGN. So how did the world of Pokemon come to be? It started with a man by the name of Satoshi Tajiri, born in 1965. He grew up in Machida, Japan, a small suburb of Tokyo. Very rural. It was, outdoorsy. He just was always outside playing, as people did back in the good old days. As a young boy, Satoshi enjoyed being out in nature like most kids, and he liked to catch insects. So much so that his friends called him Dr. Bug. And he actually had dreams of becoming an entomologist, which, for those of you who don't know, that's someone who studies insects. I only know that because one of my college professors was an entomologist. But as he grew older, technology continued to develop, and as we all know, Tokyo became a huge industrial city. So Machida lost its rural sense and technology was taking over. Naturally, Satoshi developed an interest in technology, specifically video games. As a teenager, Satoshi was fully interested in video games. And with Japanese parents, naturally, they weren't happy about this, as it's a huge distraction from his studies. Satoshi would spend hours in the arcades playing video games. He started young at working on video games. One of his favorite games was Space Invaders, and he began studying it and many of the knockoff versions of it as well. He wanted to make his own version of a sequel to Space Invaders. So he was not only into playing them, he wanted to create them. He would often cut class, but he ended up getting his act together so he could get a high school diploma. He did not go on to attending a university. However, he did attend Tokyo National College of Technology, where he received a technical degree, which honestly, good for him. I'm just going to go on a side rant really quick. If we have younger folks listening to this, sorry parents, but technical schools are the way to go. Obviously, if you want to be like a lawyer or a doctor or something like that, yeah, you need college, but look into technical schools because they can save you so much money, give you the skills you need quickly so that you can just get into what you do. let me get off my soapbox here and we'll get back to Satoshi. So some of Satoshi other accomplishments from a young age include him entering a contest hosted by Sega, where his idea for a video game won. He also pulled apart his Famicom, which, if you don't know, that is what they're called in Japan, but it's the Nintendo Entertainment System here in America. So the good old Nintendo we all had as kids. He just wanted to see how it worked, so he just pulled it apart. And his dream was to create a video game where kids could get the same feeling he would get when he would catch bugs as a child. With his love of video games, Satoshi ended up creating his own fanzine, which I didn't know this. It's a non-professional and non-official publication. So he called his fanzine Game Freak. And if you've ever played any of the Pokemon video games, you know this is the first thing you see when you switch on your Game Boy. It says Game Freak on it. So you can see what direction we're heading in here. He ended up partnering with a man named Ken Sugimori, who became the illustrator for the fanzine. And the fanzine went from 1981 to 1986. It would provide readers with tips on how to win games, and it would also talk about Easter eggs they can look for in these games. So it was a pretty fun publication to read. The fanzine had a pretty large readership, with its most popular issue selling 10,000 copies.
Wow.
As time went on, Game Freak grew and had many contributors to the team. Satoshi and Ken realized something, that most video games out there lack quality. And the way to fix this was to start creating their own. So they got into studying and developing the first arcade game. Quinty was the name of that, and they actually pitched it to Namco, which is another video game company, and they sold their game to them. So pretty
Nice.
impressive here so far. In 1989, Game Freak went from being a fanzine to a full-fledged video game company. And when Satoshi first saw the Game Boy in 1989 that had the port link that connects two consoles together, his mind was blown, and his childhood dream came back to his mind as he envisioned bugs crawling back and forth between the consoles. With that, in 1990, Pokemon was conceived. So
Wow.
now Satoshi has built quite a resume at this point with Sega, Namco. You know, he's already got some great features on his resume. And on top of that, he has a popular magazine. So when he approached Nintendo about this Pokemon concept, they really couldn't grasp the concept, but knowing his reputation, they decided to explore it. And it's a good thing they did, but in the beginning, it did not seem that way. Through the Nintendo roots, Satoshi meets a gentleman by the name of Ishihara, who became the producer of Pokemon, while Satoshi was the director. So Ishihara was more in charge of the budget, the work schedule, debugging the game, and he also contributed ideas. Meanwhile, Satoshi made sure things were happening on time and kind of managing the tasks that were all going to be put together to make this game. And don't think I forgot about Ken from Game Freak. Ken was in charge of character development because he's the illustrator here. And then he also handled the graphics of the game because duh. It took 6 years for Game Freak to complete the first Pokemon video game, Pokemon Red and Green. It actually nearly bankrupted the company, and they could barely afford to pay their employees.
Dang.
So we had rough beginnings here. 5 employees ended up quitting, and Satoshi, being a true video game nerd, decided to not take a salary, and he lived off his father's income instead. So for once, the living off your parents' basement story turns out to be a fairy tale. So Game Freak did end up receiving some help when Creatures Inc. invested in the Pokemon franchise for 1/3 of the rights. So Pokemon was owned by Nintendo, Game Freak, and Creatures Inc.
Oh, wow.
During Yeah, so we had freeways here. And if it weren't for these three companies, we wouldn't have Pokemon. So during the creation of the first Pokemon game, Satoshi also helped with the creation of other video games. He helped with Pulseman for Sega, or Pulseman is probably how that's pronounced. And he also helped with 2 Mario spin-off games, Yoshi, and a Japanese-only version of a game called Mario and Wario. And when those Mario games were released for the Game Boy, they actually didn't do well. And it was kind of thought that the days of the Game Boy were over and it was becoming obsolete. But we've been working so hard and have given up basically everything we have for Pokemon to be on the Game Boy. So what's going to happen? So in 1996, Pokemon was released. Pokemon is a shortened abbreviation for Poketo Monstera, or in English, Pocket Monster. So if you've ever wondered where they got the word Pokemon, now you know.
What a fun fact.
There, right? I thought so too. In the first launch, there were 150 Pokemon creatures, and this game was designed for players to explore and find Pokemon, battle Pokemon, and even trade Pokemon with each other. Satoshi also wanted to tame down violence in this game. Now, I know what you're thinking. This game is about fighting. How is that not violent? Well, in most video games, when you lose, it's illustrated as you dying, right? So Satoshi didn't like associating dying with losing the game. So instead of Pokemon dying when they lose a battle, they just faint, and then you can take them to the Pokemon Center to be healed. So I thought that was fascinating. The game was not expected to do well with the downfall of the Game Boy sales, but to everyone's surprise, sales continued to climb steadily, and it quickly grew to become one of Nintendo's top franchises. Now, with there being 3 companies invested, normally you need to run things by everyone. However, there was a detail of this game Nintendo was not made aware of. Rumors started swirling about this bonus Pokemon named Mew hiding in the game, and this turned out to be true, but it actually made sales improve. So while Nintendo was not necessarily given the chance to, give this the green light or the red light, it ended up being a good thing that helped them greatly. Another phenomenon was a Pokemon in specific, Pikachu. Pikachu is an electric Pokemon with powers like Thunderbolt, Thundershock, and Quick Attack. Pikachu is known to be the face of Pokemon and honestly is a global icon. I mean, back then, even parents knew who Pikachu was. I feel like everyone knows who Pikachu is now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure.
In 1998, Pokemon began making its international debut and took the world by storm. This time was known as Pokemania. And to accentuate the Pokemon video games, a manga and anime cartoon followed, alongside a trading card game. So the anime follows a 10-year-old boy, Ash Ketchum, who begins his journey as a Pokemon trainer, following his dream to become a Pokemon master. And with the help of his mentor, Professor Oak, he is matched with his first Pokemon, Pikachu. And he, along the way, meets his 2 best friends, Brock and Misty. And the show gives the story of a hero's journey, while the video games and the trading card games allow fans to step into the hero's journey. And the show also included an interactive game during commercial breaks, as they would show a silhouette of a mystery Pokemon before the break asking, "Who's that Pokemon?" And then they would conclude the break with the reveal. And the show also had an epic start with their theme song that is known by every 90s kid and would end with the Poke Rap, where they would name the 151 Pokemon. Did you watch this cartoon, Amber?
Like a little bit here and there. I would see it with like my cousins and
Okay.
stuff, but not like regularly. What about you?
Okay. Yeah, I did for a little bit. I know my brother and I, that's probably the only 30 minutes we would actually hang out together was to watch Pokemon after school. I feel like everyone's at least seen it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, the more interaction I got was actually with the card game. A lot of people in my school played the card game,
Okay.
so I saw that more so than the show.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to dive into that. But first, we're going to get into the video games, which were released in the US as Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue, and Pokemon Yellow to start. And each game offered a different experience. The games had different Pokemon in the games, and some were located in different places as well. So in Red and Blue, you get to choose one of 3 Pokemon. You can do Charmander, Squirtle, or Bulbasaur. So Charmander's a fire Pokemon, Squirtle's a water Pokemon, and Bulbasaur is a grass Pokemon. In Yellow, you don't get a choice, and Pikachu is the automatic Pokemon given to you by Professor Oak. Personally, I don't like having Pikachu around because he follows you outside of his Pokeball. And if he's sick or whatever, like you have to hear him whining. And I don't know. I love me a quiet Pokemon. So if I play Yellow, I'll usually go find my Charmander ASAP and then deposit Pikachu away. Sorry for those Pikachu fans out there. Another difference in the Yellow is there is a bonus Pikachu surfing game, which is pretty fun. But the
Nice.
game allows you to live your own journey from becoming a Pokemon trainer and collecting Pokemon. And you begin in your hometown of Pallet Town and say bye to your mother. Then go visit Professor Oak, get your Pokemon, and have your first battle against your biggest rival, Gary, who is Professor Oak's grandson. So we're following the show here. And then you move town to town, battling, catching, and training your Pokemon, battling fellow trainers in Pokemon gyms, which will earn you badges. And then you eventually get to fight the League. I've beaten these games a handful of times. It's great. Have you ever played the video games?
No, I never really played these video games, so this is all foreign to me. So this is cool to listen to how it's
Okay.
played.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Next time we are together, I'll make sure to have my Game Boy with me with the game so you can at least experience it once.
Nice.
Now we'll get to the trading cards. We'll get back into the worlds you're familiar with.
Yeah.
So the trading card game was inspired by another trading card game, Magic the Gathering. How this would work was you would either buy a card or a pack of cards and you would battle the cards against each other. Basically, whichever card was stronger would defeat the other. I unfortunately didn't have enough time to study how exactly to play it, but whoever had the strongest card based on points and powers and whatnot, my brother and I would just make up our own rules, and he very well may have just made things up, so he would have won, and I would never know. But yeah. So while these weren't the first trading cards for a battle game, they were the first that most 90 kids were exposed to because not many people are familiar with Magic the Gathering.
Hmm.
And they really exploded in the toy industry. Like they were everywhere. You had them in toy stores, big box department stores like Target and Walmart. They were in prize counters at arcades even. And GameStop and collectible stores also had them as well. Back in the day, we had these things called malls, and they would have a bunch of little things called stores where you could go buy things in person. So these cards were just about everywhere you could think of when you wanted them. If you were really into Pokemon and the trading card game, this was an entire community for you in itself. Many toy and collectible stores would host Pokemon tournaments on the weekends, and kids would come in on Saturday mornings with their card collections and battle each other. I couldn't tell you if there was a prize, but it really didn't matter. It was just something for kids to do, and they'd meet kids with similar interests. So Pokemon really was a culture. And these cards not only were widespread all over the retail industry, but they inspired a handful of copycat franchises that came to follow with shows, video games, and trading card games. The most notable franchises were Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh! These were mainly followed by boys. And Pokemon had fan bases with boys, but they had a good handful of girls too, at least to a certain extent, myself
Hmm.
included. However, while those franchises aren't as big as today as they were back then, Pokemon still lives strong and has never really gone away. The fans of Pokemon never have really outgrown it. Pokemon has kept it mainstream in many ways, and in more recent years, the franchise has attracted its now adult audience with a feature film, Detective Pikachu, starring Ryan Reynolds and Justice Smith. And they also released an app, Pokemon Go. This had a moment. Do you remember the days of Pokemon Go?
Oh my god, what a blissful summer that was.
Did you play it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, everyone was into it. This
Oh,
was
you did?
when what year was this? Was it 2014? What year did
No,
it
it
get
was
released?
like 2016, I
Was it
think.
16? Okay, yeah. So I was still living in my
Yeah.
college town and we had all kind of graduated, but we were all still there. And so like me and my friends, we would go like after work, we would go to the park and we would walk, aka go try to catch Pokemon for like 3 hours.
Yep, I remember that happening.
Such a
This
great
game
time.
took over the world. Yeah, it really took over the world for like a good year or so.
It did. I remember because I never really, like I said, I don't have much experience with Pokemon, but this was like a way for people who didn't really have experience or like any understanding to kind of be a part of this culture that everyone had been about for so long. So I felt included.
Yeah. And I really think like anybody can be involved in Pokemon, and maybe that's why I liked it, because you can jump in at
Hmm.
any point and just, it's kind of accepting for everyone. It's really easy to catch on to who's who and what's what.
Yeah.
So, but you make a good point there. Yeah, I can proudly say I rebelled against this game, but for a while people were just on it nonstop, like you said. Like for me though, it was kind of creepy to witness.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
yeah.
for those who don't know what we're talking about, this game allowed you to catch Pokemon. Um, like it was like in the video games, but this was real life. So there's like some sort of advanced form of technology for sure. So you'd get the app and you would just like and you'd like scan the camera around your like
Area.
the world, like right? Like
Yeah.
yeah, where you're at physically in the real world. You would just put your camera around in the app and there would be like Pokemon around to catch and there was like exclusivity to it too. Like some Pokemon were available at this park and you could get I remember they had uh, was it Machop, which is like a muscular Pokemon, and he was at a gym specifically in my town. So you'd have to go to that gym to get him.
Oh my god, that's so
But yeah,
funny.
they just would have him. Yeah, it was wild. And it got people out more and they were walking. Like you said, you were walking for 3 hours.
Hmm.
But what I noticed is people weren't paying attention to where they were going. So, like, I remember I was at my apartment and I was in the parking lot and I had parked to go inside and I noticed this guy wandering into traffic in the parking lot. And I can see he's on his phone. His eyes are not being lifted up from his phone. And I watched him for like a good 5 minutes and he did not look up from his phone once. So, like, seeing
That's
that,
scary.
I was determined. Yeah, like you could trip over a curb, you could get hit by a car, you could run into a pole. Like, I don't, you could cause damage to somebody's vehicle and be responsible.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I told myself I was never getting it after seeing that, but it definitely gave some laughs. Like there's that story. And then I remember one time I was at work, one of my supervisors was playing it and she scanned it over my male supervisor's pants.
Hmm.
Um, Not on purpose. She was just moving her camera around and found the Pokemon and um I'll describe my male supervisor before I let you know what was on his pants. So he was Mormon, very conservative, very sweet, but very shy guy. Okay. So he found a Weedle on his pants. So if you don't know what a Weedle is, it's like a worm caterpillar thing. So it's like right there on his pants. So she got a great laugh and he was very awkward. Looking back, that was probably inappropriate for him to experience that, but technically technology did that.
That wasn't her fault.
Yeah. Today, Pokemon still live strong, known and adored by many generations, and probably going to live on forever.
Nice. That's crazy. No, honestly, I think Pokemon Go really revamped it for like not only us, but I think like a new generation too.
Oh,
And
yeah.
isn't Pokemon Go is still going strong, right? Like if I'm not wrong.
I have no idea, but I wouldn't be surprised to hear people are still playing it.
Yeah. No, I just remember people walking like, on top of the walking around everywhere aimlessly where we weren't looking at each other, we're looking at our phones. But battery packs, that was when the power banks were so crucial because the way that the app worked with the camera and your Wi-Fi, like it drained your battery so quickly that like you had to have an extra source to like charge your phone because it would take your battery so quick. Fun
That's
fact about that.
wild. I had no idea.
Oh, it was such a
So
good time.
what are you talking about? You are a full-on Pokemon trainer.
I played for a little bit, but the thing is, to be fair, like I didn't play the way people wanted me to. Like I've never been a big fighter game type of girly, so like I didn't really fight my Pokemon that often. I was just in it to catch the Pokemon. I always fucking caught Butterfree or Butterflee or whatever that one was.
Oh.
That was the one I kept catching.
Butterfree, and then Caterpie was what evolved into Butterfree.
Well, I was already pissed because I'm like, butterflies, get out of here. Why do I keep catching you?
You're right. For the folks at home, Amber has struggles with butterflies. They literally attack her while she's
They
out
do.
walking.
Oh my god, it's starting again too because it's a little bit warm right now. So, which is weird, by the way. It's like late December. It should be cold. It's been like 80 degrees here, and they've just been. It's this one corner that I turn. I don't know why they're so aggressive, but like when I turn this corner, they're all like already kind of fighting with each other, and then they come at me, and I'm like, okay, I don't think it's about me.
They are violent. Violent
So.
butterflies in California.
That's what I'm saying. And this is a nice neighborhood, a quiet neighborhood. So it's not like there's any aggression going on here. It's all old people. So I don't get it. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's my energy coming in. They're like, the old people are tame. It's got to be me.
All right, Amber, what do you have for us today?
Okay, so today I am going to be doing some of the discontinued snacks, candies, and drinks of the 2000s. So my sources today are Wikipedia, aka the Holy Grail, as we know, Bustle, Eat This, Ranker, Comedy.com, ABC27, Snack History, OldTimeCandy.com, and WXYZ.com. Also, I'm sorry in advance if you guys are hungry. Maybe pause, go get a snack, get a drink, whatever you need, because we're getting into it. We'll start off strong with Altoid Sours.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, do you remember? Not
until just now, but
I know. It's like you forget until you see it again. So these mouth annihilators hit the shelves in the US grocery stores starting in 2004 and quickly became a fan favorite. The candy came in several flavors, including tangerine, raspberry, citrus, apple, and mango. People speculate that tangerine was the best. I feel like it's a toss-up between tangerine and citrus because I feel like those were the most sour. What about you? What do you say? What was your favorite flavor?
I think I liked the apple the best.
I don't think I ever tried an apple one. I didn't know apple and mango existed. Oh, actually, I knew mango existed. I just don't think I knew apple existed. So this is interesting. Was it like a green apple? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
These delicious yet terrifyingly sour candies were discontinued after a short run in February of 2010. And when asked why the candy was discontinued, a Mars customer service rep stated that they were discontinued due to a low national demand. If a product is not selling particularly well, unfortunately, we sometimes have to discontinue it. And I've got to say, I'm sad that they were discontinued because of low sales, and I'm certainly surprised by it because I feel like everyone was buying them around this time. But I mean, we were 12 or 13 around 2004 when they first came out, so we were young. We were buying, mints and candies at this time, and I'm sure we were doing this on purpose to torture our friends at this point too. So for us, we're like, yeah, it's in high demand. We're all buying it, but I guess as kids, we don't have as much pull on the economy. So,
Yeah, exactly. Like they were popular in our entire world, but our entire world was so small when you compare it to the actual world.
totally. Okay. So this one I actually didn't pop up in any of my research, but for some reason popped into my head, and I feel like everyone's going to agree. McDonald's snack wraps.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about those.
Yes. Okay. So they were introduced in 2006 and they were discontinued in 2016. So they had a pretty good stint. They had a decade stint. And this delicious snack was actually discontinued because employees said it was too difficult and time consuming to make. They also said that the demand was not as great as expected, which I find that hard to believe. We clearly all liked that snack. We're all demanding it back. I don't know if you've seen the petitions for people to try to get this snack back. Um, oh yeah.
No.
Oh yeah, people are going nuts for it. All over Reddit too. People will be like, McDonald's snack wrap this, McDonald's snack wrap that. Um, so I think it's funny. But anyway, so the snack itself consisted of grilled or crispy chicken, lettuce, cheese, and a choice of ranch or honey mustard sauce. And I am sorry to the employees, but I hope this snack does come back because I was reading some articles saying that they're trying to revamp the possibility of bringing it back. So fingers
I mean, they
crossed.
brought back the McRib.
They've brought back a lot of things that they shouldn't have brought back. I've never tried a McRib. Have you?
No, I'm not a big McDonald's person.
Yeah.
Um, like
I'm
if I go there, I'm not even trying to be healthy. Like so this snack wrap I've never had either. Like I'm going for burger, fries, or nuggets and a McFlurry. Like I'm going all
That's fair.
out on the greasy, unhealthy food.
You know what? That's a fair point. These were cheap, and I remember again, this was around college time, they were still out. So I was buying these. I think they were like dollar snack wraps. So like I was buying like a shit ton of these bad boys. I'd pop them in my fridge occasionally to pop that bad boy back out, eat it again. I will say though, McDonald's has some competition with Burger King though, because Burger King has recently come out with their crispy wraps. I think they're called crispy chicken wraps, and it's basically a direct like stab at these snack wraps that were discontinued for McDonald's. It's basically the same thing, but with Burger King. If you're missing it
I
and you
love
want
these
it,
marketing wars.
right? I think it's so. It makes me laugh because when I saw a commercial like yesterday, and when I saw the commercial, I was like, wait a minute. I just did research on this. How did this not pop up? But anyway, I should be on the petition to bring the snack rack back to McDonald's because I know that Burger King can do it good, but the chicken tastes different over there. Their nuggets are not the same as the McDonald's ones, so I know that their chicken overall is not the same. So next we have Icebreaker Liquid Ice. We're sticking with some of these mints here.
Oh yeah.
So, not really a drink or a snack, but worth talking about. The mint was released in 2003 and almost immediately discontinued in 2004 due to people stating that the mint was far too intense and bitter. Which, I mean, honestly, true. I remember these so specifically. Did you ever?
Oh yeah, I had these. I actually recently saw like a on a nostalgia TikTok page, a commercial for this with Jessica and Ashley Simpson. And
Wait, yes.
Jessica is doing her whole play on the is it chicken or is it fish? And she's like, is it liquid or is it mint?
Wait, that's too funny. I love that. So, I'm surprised that didn't pop up. Again, we're another thing that we basically all punished our friends with. I mean, how it was how many
Yep.
you could eat. Just like the Listerine strips, it was how many can you eat before like you're gonna break. That was how we did it. um Next is Swoops. And Swoops were Pringle shaped pieces of chocolate that launched in 2003. They were thinly sliced confections that were curved to offer, as what Hershey stated, an indulgent, mouth melting experience. Each container contained 3 separate plastic cups with a peel back foiled lid, which really just sounds exhausting to get to the chocolate. You've got a package, then you've got your foil, then you're unwrapping this, you're unwrapping that. That's a lot to get to my chocolate. I don't even want it at this
Mhm.
point. But they had a lot of flavors. Flavors included the standard Hershey's milk chocolate, Reese's, York peppermint patties, almond joy, white chocolate Reese's, toffee, and almond. And they also had limited edition flavors, which included white chocolate peppermint, special dark chocolate with almonds, and strawberries and cream. It all sounds good. Do you remember Swoops at all?
Mm-hmm.
You do?
Yeah, I never had them, but I remembered them looking very good.
Yeah, well, okay, I guess I should say I remember them, but I never tried them. I remember being curious about them, and
Yeah.
I guess, um, well, I'll get into it. So, sadly, Swoops were discontinued in August of 2006, and the speculation is due to the excess packaging, which I stated I totally get, but also people speculate it was due to there not being enough chocolate in the container, because people related the container to the idea of popping chips in your mouth because of the idea of relating it to the Pringles. And there
Right.
was only 6 swoops per container, so it didn't feel like you were
Oh,
getting enough, which is not enough in my opinion.
no, not at
S
all.
and because you would think, right, they're really thin, you should be getting, like, at least 12. 12 would be an ideal number, I feel.
Yeah.
Call me Hershey's.
I
No, I'm just kidding.
I agree.
Um, yeah, so, yeah, I never tried these, but I can imagine that they tasted really good, but I just don't feel like there's enough chocolate here to satisfy me. Even the small little swoop
No.
itself doesn't feel like it would be enough. Next, we have the crispy M&Ms, and these were M&Ms that were
Mm.
obviously M&Ms with a crispy cookie-like middle. I personally didn't like these. I remember them being popular. Did you ever try these and like them?
I loved them. They were like my favorite, but in hindsight, like
Oh,
I don't think they're around anymore. But they were in like the past 10 years at some point, and I had them again. I'm like, these are pretty gross, actually. So my sugar loving kid self liked them, but not now.
they were available in the US in 2005 and can still be found in some European countries. But I did some more research and digging, and I found out that they have made a reemergence on the shelves in the US since 2021, most notably in Five Below. That's where you can find a lot of nostalgic candies. If they're going to hit the shelf again, Five
Oh,
Below
yeah.
is where you're going to see it.
Yep. I loved going through their candy stuff and being like, oh my gosh, I forgot about this.
It's so much fun. Every time I go in, I don't even buy the candy. I'm like, let me just see if they have anything interesting that I missed last time. Next is Yogos, which I forgot Yogos even existed as a snack. Did you try these ever?
No, I don't think I remember these.
Okay. So they were introduced in 2005, discontinued in 2009. It was a fairly short-lived snack, but I mean, it had a good 4-year stint. Um, it was a peach-sized and shaped fruit snack, and it was coated with a yogurty, like soft kind of shell. Um,
Oh,
yeah, I would say, like, as a kid, I remember enjoying these snacks, but I do remember the yogurt. Essentially, when you would bite or chew into these, it would crumble off. So, if you think like
kind of
yogurt
like a
covered,
yogurt covered
yep, exactly.
chocolates or raisins. Okay.
Exactly, just crumbles right off. It's not real yogurt, it's just straight sugar basically.
Yeah.
Um and essentially so they called it what was considered to be the snack of the future. So like think essentially Dippin' Dots but basically fruit snack form. Um
Okay.
I personally, like, I loved these for what they were back in the day, but I don't think they need a reemergence, and I personally am fine with them staying in the 2000s. These weren't that great. There's nothing to write home about with these. Don't bring them back and make me try them again and hate them. I don't want to hate them. I did love them. Next is Cream Savers. They were introduced in 1998, discontinued in 2011, which both I know are out of my technical realm, but you know what? I don't even care because I loved Cream Savers, and I'm going to talk about them. So, Cream Saver candy is a type of hard candy that was known for its creamy, flavored profile. Like I said, it was introduced by the Wrigley Company in 1998, and it quickly gained popularity among candy enthusiasts. This candy was initially launched with only 2 main flavors. It was strawberries and cream, and then peaches and cream. These flavors were chosen for their appeal and their ability to provide a rich and indulgent taste experience. As the popularity of this candy grew, Wrigley decided to expand the product line and add additional flavors over the years, such as raspberries and cream, orange and cream, and chocolate and caramel. Um, so, like as I said, they were discontinued originally in 2011. However, much like the crispy M&Ms, these have made their reemergence since 2021, and they can be found on the shelves again. Five Below. That's where I first
Yeah.
found them. Go ahead.
Also Big Lots.
Oh, okay, good to know. Yeah. I thought it was a fluke when I saw, well, not a fluke, but I wasn't sure that they had officially came back because like we said, Five Below gets all these like throwback candies that I was like, oh, maybe this is just like a Five Below exclusive. So I remember buying them and being like, oh, I'm buying this because I'll never be able to get this again. And then to get out of the sweets, we've got some Doritos guacamole. These chips were introduced in 2003, discontinued quickly in 2006. It had
They
a
lasted for 3 years?
3 years.
Disgusting.
Well, it's funny you say that because there are some chips on the shelf now that have a guacamole flavor. Like I think it's
Ugh.
Tostitos that has one, and I think it's like a green colored chip if I'm not wrong.
Ugh.
So there's some options for it still for the people who are missing this. Um, the explanation for it is it's basically a rich blend of guacamole flavor, spices, and a hint of lime, which does sound yummy, but why not just get a tortilla chip and get some guacamole? I don't know why we're phoning in the
Yeah.
flavor.
Why do
Eat
we
the
need
real
the artificial?
right. Why are we phoning it in? Get the good stuff. You don't want like a real guacamole. You don't want real avocado flavor, like I can't imagine this being better than normal.
That sounds disgusting.
It sounds
Absolutely
sad.
disgusting.
It just sounds like a sad quick version of something that should not exist. So I'm glad that it doesn't. And apparently these dip flavored chips, that's hard to say, did not sell as well as Frito-Lay intended, and it was the cause for their quick departure. As it should, because get out of here, that sounds gross.
Bye.
Bye, Felicia. Just to round out the snacks and to close off the snacks, I wanted to throw in a little fun fact here. Well, fun is relative, but the last time that fruit shaped tricks were available was in 2006. And now we're just left with sad little round shaped puffs.
So it's not that we're not kids anymore.
I was just gonna say that.
Okay. I've always wondered, I'm like, is this real?
You know what? I want to believe that that's what actually happened because it makes me think that kids are probably actually seeing shapes. And that
Yeah.
just makes me feel so much better about it because I know kids are having a way better time in their life. Everything's more light, bright, and beautiful for them. So I want to believe they're seeing the shapes and we're not.
Man, everything really just revolves around millennials, right?
It does. No,
Like,
I
oh, you guys are adults. Actually, we're gonna make you believe that tricks really are for kids, and we're gonna
yeah.
change it to do that.
Actually, now that you're an adult, everything's sad and depressing. Like, have you seen the McDonald's where they show like the McDonald's in the 90s and the McDonald's now? And they're like, what happened to McDonald's? Like, the McDonald's are all colorful, they're all different colors, and now the McDonald's are just like two-toned, basically. So,
Yeah, because everything's gotta look so, lack of a better
modern.
term, posh. Taco Bell too. I
I
remember all like
know.
they had like the teal chairs, and then like the teal and the purple and the pink and
It
the
was my
yellow, and
favorite.
now it's just purple and gray.
So boring and sad. I'm like, thanks for keeping the purple. I love a good purple, but I know the like the squiggly line stuff that they had going on and the neon that they would
Yeah.
have going across the top. They don't do it like they used to.
No.
Okay, moving on to the discontinued drinks. So, first we have Coke with lime, and this flavor only lasted from 2005 to 2007. I don't think the flavor needs much explaining. It's Coke with lime. Um, a diet version circulates the shelves currently, but they no longer make the regular version, which I didn't realize how many people were in demand for Coke and lime versus just like the. Do we even have Coke with lemon still?
I didn't know that was the thing.
I think it was at one point, but
Oh.
I've seen in the soda aisles, at least here in California, you can get the little lime salts and the lemon salts or just the little things to add to your soda because like they don't sell it like that anymore. So you can just add it and automatically make your Coke like Coke with lime or little
Mhm.
lime juices and stuff. So they know it's up here. So
I remember the
um
commercial for that.
do you really?
Yeah, you
I
don't
don't
remember it?
know.
They sing, "You put the lime and the coconut and mix it all up."
Oh, wait a minute.
It was iconic.
Yes. Okay. Then I'm gonna switch around because you went iconic on me. I'm gonna switch around on my ones here, and I'm gonna go to the next most iconic one: berries and cream Dr. Pepper. Anybody?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, this soda was only it was very short-lived apparently. So it launched in 2006 but was discontinued within months. Didn't even last the entire year. Which I thought was
Wow.
crazy. Yeah, so it was filled with notes of blueberry, raspberry, and vanilla, which sounds really good, especially with the stuff that they've done since with Dr. Pepper. The brand
Mm-hmm.
did bring it back in 2022, only giving away 582 cans, which is wild. I'll just say it, all I and probably everyone else who grew up in the 90s and 2000s can remember about this soda is the stupid freaking commercial. Berries and cream, berries and cream.
Betty's a cream, Betty's a cream.
Oh, I'm a little lad that loves me berries and cream. Oh yeah, of course.
Oh.
Oh my god, it's so good. That commercial pop. So we have Sprite Remix. This was introduced in 2005. It was introduced in 2003, discontinued in 2005. And I've got to say, the US kind of sucks because pretty much everything that's discontinued is still living strong in Europe. Some European country somewhere is getting to reap all the benefits of our childhood. We hate that. Anyway, so this Sprite Remix was a colorless, caffeine-free, berry-flavored Sprite that came in 3 flavors. There was tropical, berry clear, and Aruba jam. I don't know about the tropical one. I mean, I can see it. I've never been like the most tropical's not my way to go per se. Maybe even with like lemon and lime, because you've got the lemon and lime keynotes of this as well, right? I would assume.
Yeah.
I don't know if that goes good with tropical. Next was Pepsi Blue, which was introduced in 2002 but discontinued in 2004. This was a berry-flavored Pepsi that was also blue in color. So that's kind of cool. I don't know about berry-flavored Pepsi, though, because Pepsi's got a really distinct taste, and I can't imagine berry being great mixed with that, because it's got this tanginess to it.
I mean, it goes well with cherry. I'm trying to imagine berry.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this just kind of shows here that low-key, I've never really been a Pepsi fan. I've tried both. I'd rather go for Coke. I'm not going to go for Coke either way, but if I had to choose, gun to my head, it's going to be Coke. What about you?
See, my mom was Pepsi. Like, she was an actual addict, though, like 3 or 4 a day.
Oh, no.
I'm not really a soda person, though.
Yeah, same.
I would maybe have one, like, once a week with, on pizza night, but that was about it. And then I'm not a soda person. The only time I'll drink soda is when I eat at a Mexican restaurant. I like to have a cola to pair with it, but it's purely a culinary experience. It's not that I even like soda. It just pairs well with it.
Do you get like the Mexican colas with like the full cane sugar and everything?
If they have it.
Yeah.
Like when I was living in Arizona, a lot of the places had RC cola instead of Coke or Pepsi. So I'm like, oh yeah, bring it on.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess the thing for me is I'm really not going out of my way for a soda either. Like if I do have a soda, it's a zero sugar like Sprite or something. Like I don't like I never went for the dark colas. It was never my favorite thing. So I was like, okay, this is my best bet to get a really good sweet tea is either Chick-fil-A or McDonald's. Chick-fil-A here doesn't even do sweet tea. They do iced tea. And you know what they did? They were like, do you want us to add sugar? I was like, yes, please. They handed me Splenda packets.
Yep.
I was so pissed. They asked me if they wanted to add sugar and handed me Splenda packets. I was so mad. Can you tell
You're
I'm not from
in a different world.
Okay, let me round it off, guys. I'm done, almost done. Just one more. So it's the Coca-Cola Black Cherry Vanilla and the Diet Coke Black Cherry Vanilla. So this launched in 2006 and was discontinued in the summer of 2007 due to low sales. However, if you are lucky to find yourself in a restaurant with the Coca-Cola Freestyle machine, you can find this flavor, which is pretty common now in most restaurants that sell Coca-Cola. Like they have these Freestyle machines. So you've got a pretty good bet of finding this soda. And that rounds out my discontinued snacks and drinks.
Dang, you took me back. Everything you said. I was just like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
It was so much fun to do research on because I was like, "Oh my god, this one," and it was showing me congruently the 2000s and the 90s, so I was getting, like, old discontinued 90s stuff too, so I was having, like, a whole field day.
That was fun. All right, guys. So that wraps up this episode of Posh and Plastic. Again, please rate and review the podcast. Please subscribe so you'll know when we get new episodes dropped here every Thursday for Throwback Thursday. And we'll catch you next week.
Bye, guys.